In the past, web analytics, and not digital analytics, but web analytics was defined as the measurement, collection, analysis, and reporting of internet data for the purpose of understanding and optimizing web usage. So as we saw in the first lesson, it's important to go beyond this restrictive definition of what is web analytics and embrace digital analytics. There are still components of data collection, measurement, analysis, reporting, and visualization. But the difference is that we're not web-centric, we're not marketing-centric. We want to use the right data in the right context to inform business decisions. So today is the role of digital analyst it's quite different. We are change agents, as I mentioned, because we know how to make sense of the data. We want to bring it to life and be able to convey an understanding of what is possible. So by breaking something complex into smaller parts, again, we can also understand the constraints in what is possible, given the specifics of your organizational environment. So in this lesson, we're going to learn about the digital analytics match revenue model, which is a concept that I've created years and years ago as a way to assess your organization's strengths and weaknesses, your capabilities, over various key areas of maturity. So this is how we're going to look at people, process, and technology, but with a broader understanding of what are the factors that will help you succeed in digital analytics. So there are a couple of famous guidelines, I would say, and one of them came from Avinash Kaushik a number of years ago. It's called the 10-90 rule. What it stated was that if you have only $100 to spend on digital analytics, $10 should be spent on the tools and $90 should be spent on the people using those tools. And be it $10, $90, or $20, $80, the concept is that people are more important than the tools. And the great thing is in this course, you are developing your skills as an analyst. You're going to be able to apply that regardless of the tool. So your value in the market is going to increase. So analysts we can extract data from the tools. There are tools that will spit out a number of interesting data and interesting reports. But without an analyst to really understand what is going on, you won't be able to provide valuable insight, things that the business will care about. So not just data. Data is easy to get. At a certain point, information is relatively easy to get also. But you need to go beyond that. You need to understand the business. You need to be able to provide actionable insight. Another example of a guideline, again, put forth by Avinash Kaushik, is the 2080 rule about the work of an analyst. So ideally, we would like to spend a very little amount of time doing just reporting because reporting is typically available out of the box from a tool. Frankly, anyone can go in a tool, look at the numbers, and make up their own mind. The analyst brings a lot more value because of the unique skills of the analyst to be able to bring context to the data. The sad reality, and it's true in digital analytics, it's true in business intelligence, in other fields, we spend a lot of time getting the data ready and very little time doing real analysis work. So maybe it looks more like this where you do some reporting, but you should also spend time looking at the various acquisition strategies, looking at understanding customer experience, looking at staying plugged into the context, understanding the business, the evolution of the business. But it could also be understanding the evolution of our industry, the digital analytics industry, and knowing that there are new tools and concepts out there that could be useful for your analysis. Exploring new strategic options to influence the business, and of course, you need some breaks and lunch. Those times. So maybe the part missing here is this sad reality that you could have another circle that would go around this one that would be about getting the proper tags on the site to collect the right information, also transforming and preparing all of that data so you can actually do analysis. So what are some of the mistakes that we see most often when it comes to digital analytics? One of those is failing to understand the issue of integration, the data collection itself, the tagging, as we call it, or integrating data from the website with other data source. It takes a lot of time. It is complex. Failing to realize the limits of unstructured data, or we could even just say fail to realize the limits of data in the first place. Different tools have different ways of collecting the data. They have different meaning. So you could even end up with two metrics that are very similar but somewhat different because one comes from a social media source, the other one comes from a different tool, and you try to match those numbers, and they simply don't match. The third mistake is to assume that correlation has any meaning to explain something. And it's find correlation where there's actually no relationship, no meaning. It's easy to into some self-fulfilling prophecy where we seek the data that will justify or satisfy our hypothesis instead of the other way around. Then, underestimating the labor skills needed. We often get told that such and such tools are going to make the job super easy and anyone can do it and so on. But it's not always true. Yes, some tools can make our job easier, but certainly not easy. As the tools gets better, the expectation, the complexity of what we have to work with is increasing faster. So there's always a lot of demand in the market for people with the right talent to leverage data. The team and expertise, of course, is super important. It's not about knowing how to use a specific tool, but it's about being smart, being intelligent, being able to exercise judgment, and be able to apply those skills in the way that you're going to analyze data. So the team and expertise is quickly represented by the way the skills are structured within the organization. So how does your organization structure its data and analytics resource and team? So maybe there's no dedicated resources, maybe there's a project team, again, is a challenge because the project is eventually going to end and those people assigned to the project are going to go back to their business doing something else. Or maybe it's just a part-time analyst. And that's a challenge because the field of expertise is so complex that working on your own part-time is very difficult. So it's getting better when you have a full-time analyst, a distributed team, so different skill sets, but reporting to different managers. While at level 4, you have a multidisciplinary team of people working for the same single manager. And at level 5, you reach a point where your business stakeholders, your users, are empowered. They know how to get to the information they need, and they understand what it means, and they can make decisions on their own. Area number 4 is by far the weakest spot. So there are some benchmark data about the digital analytics maturity levels of different organizations, and by far, it's always the weakest spot. So we want to be able to have a methodology in place. A process in place, so that when we do something, we know the recipe. So compare that to a cookbook. You can follow the cookbook, but it won't make you a master chef. Here, we want to be able to do is to identify problems and importantities, develop hypotheses, analyze, and provide insights. If you don't have any methodology, every time you have to do an analysis, you start from scratch. You don't know how to do it. Maybe over time you've defined your own way. So first time you do an analysis of your campaign performance on Google search, maybe it's a little bit more difficult. But over time, you know that, oh, if I have to do it again, this is how I do it. It's good, but the problem is if you go on vacation,